What's up guys, good morning and welcome back to Chris Aquariums. How's everyone doing? I hope that you're doing well. In last week's video, you saw that we were setting up the new tank for the goldfish, moving them from their previous smaller tank into their new larger tank. Now, it has been 3 weeks since then, and I'm happy to say that the goldfish are now happy and healthy and vibrant in their new tank. But it was quite a process to get there. So the video of them moving across is going to be split into two videos. One is the setting up of the new goldfish tank and the things that we did, and the second will be moving them into the new tank and some montage footage of how they're doing. So let's get started. Now, for every new tank there's mainly three things that you'll need. More, but the main point is you need lighting, filtration, and a beneficial bacteria colony. So first of all is filtration. Let's get started into what we did. Now this is activated carbon. This is used quite frequently in aquarium filters, and it's used as a chemical filtration to remove any impurities in the water. Also helps to avoid that fishy smell that sometimes people complain about. Obviously water changes help with that in general, but if not, activated carbon is what you use. So I'm going to be using a lot of this in the goldfish tank, because any impurities in the water from the driftwood or the substrate or anything, this will help to remove it. So if you look in the filter, you'll see that I've used a generous amount of activated carbon, which will take care of the chemical filtration, the purifying of the water, and I'll show you now what we're going to do about the bacteria colony. Why do I always talk about beneficial bacteria? It's because it's so important. Without it, you get what's known as new tank syndrome. What happens is people get excited, they get a new tank, fill it with water, put in the fish. Next thing you know, you have the waste turning into nitrites, nitrates, and ammonia, and they end up killing the fish. Many a hobby has been killed by new tank syndrome. So it's very important to make sure you have a colony of beneficial bacteria before you move the fish in to be able to deal with the ammonia load and the waste load. The easiest way to do this is to take an existing beneficial bacteria colony from your old tank, such as this 100-liter tropical, and move it into the filtration of your new tank. This is the filter floss from my 100-liter tropical tank. As you can see, some of it is brown. Not all of that brown is necessarily filtered material. It is the beneficial bacteria which has colonized the filter wall. So what I'm going to do, as you've seen, we have the activated carbon already in the filter, and I'm going to top it off with this filter floss, which is already full of beneficial bacteria. This is absolutely perfect. We now have a filter which is over capacity. This is what I use for my 100-liter 30-gallon tank, and is filled with activated carbon for chemical filtration, filter wool for mechanical filtration, and lastly a full colony of beneficial bacteria. Exactly what's needed to start up a new tank. Everything's in place. I'm going to let the tank run as it is, let the filter run, let the activated carbon run, let the beneficial bacteria run, and get everything in place before we put in the new fish. And that's what we did for this new tank. But we didn't stop there. This is Stability from Seachem. Now, I usually use all of their products just because they're one of the best, and they're typically quite concentrated, so they're well priced. What this does, as we've seen earlier, is introduces some beneficial bacteria into the new tank. So while we do have a good beneficial bacteria colony in the filter through using previous filter media, I just want to make double sure, and I'm going to add a dose of this as well. So that's essentially two of the three requirements. We have the filtration and the beneficial bacteria all in one. The next up is the lighting. For the lighting in this tank, we're just going to have a LED light, which I have from previously, which we're just going to stick here with some extra strength double-sided tape. Just like that. And lights are going on in 3, 2, 1. I had that LED for about 3 years, but obviously something just had to go wrong. And Murphy's Law, the LED that I've had for about 2 years, broke. But that's fine because I've always had my best plant growth with halogen bulbs, and I was actually going to replace the LED with a halogen anyway, so this just kind of moved the timeline up a bit. I've actually always liked halogens, and the new one is in the tank and working well. But that wasn't the only problem that we had. You see, the driftwood that we put into the tank is full of nutrients and vitamins and minerals and all these things that you find in a piece of wood. When you put it into a new tank, it starts leaching into the water, and this happened. Well guys, this is why the goldfish are not in the new tank yet. Take a look at this. Now you may recognize this. We had the same thing in the big 100-liter tank when we got the new driftwood. And this is completely normal. This nutrients coming out of the wood, which makes it look like it's got a film of, I don't even know what this looks like. But I'm waiting for all of this to leach into the water. The snails are going to be having a snack. We're going to give it a little while, let this settle itself out before we move over. So because of this, I held off on putting the fish into the tank. You see, it's all about saturation. When you have a big tank such as this 100-liter behind me, you have a lot more wiggle room. If there's something in the water, something not right, there's a lot of water to dilute it. In a smaller tank, there's less water. That is a very large piece of driftwood in a relatively smaller tank compared to the size of the driftwood, so I wanted to make sure the water parameters were perfect before moving them across. Eventually, after about 2 or 3 weeks of water changes, cleaning, building beneficial bacteria, filtering, we finally got the parameters right and we moved the fish into the new tank. Final water change, and there's just a few more things to add. The first is your prime, just to make tap water safe, essentially your dechlorinator. The water level is also a little bit lower now, so that the filter, as you'll see, creates a lot more surface agitation, which means more oxygenation of the water. And when you're transferring fish, better oxygenation is always preferable. Guys, the time has come to move these guys into the new tank. I am super excited. Everything's there waiting for them. Now, I'm gonna need 2 hands. I wanna make sure I do the transfer properly, but I can't wait. These guys are going in their new tank. So guys, they're in the new tank. The lights are off. They're obviously a bit stressed. They need to get acclimatized. So I'm gonna leave the lights off, let them get accustomed to their new home, and I'll get you some good footage, maybe in a couple of days once they're more settled. Guys, that is it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it, setting up the goldfish tank for new inhabitants, but things have changed. It's about 3 weeks since we started filming for this tank, and there's been some changes in the tank. And of course, what you're gonna wanna see is some footage of the big, chubby, pearl scale goldfish in their new tank. So don't miss the next video where you see what's happened. A lot has changed, and I can't wait to show you. So I'll see you next time, as always, on Chris Aquariums.